So today, welcome to the channel. Today I'm going to be talking about whether it's okay to copy another artist's style and why you would do it, really. So as you can see, what I'm going to be doing here is I'm going to be creating this drawing of this boat, and it's going to be in the style of an artist who I really love the work of, and it's Ian Fennelly, and he's renowned for using very bright colours and very bold textures. And I wouldn't say I'm copying his work here, but it's definitely influenced by his work. And I've been studying the way that he uses mark making and he uses tones in his pictures. And I want to talk a little bit about why we do that. But first of all, as a bit of a tangent, I've been playing with my Opus 88 fountain pen, and I've managed to fit a nib. It's a Jawa 6 nib, if that means anything to you. Maybe not, maybe it does. That's the size that goes in these pens. And I've managed to fit a flex nib in it from Fountain Pen Revolution. And as you can see, it's got some really interesting line variation widths. And I'm really enjoying it, yeah. The reason why I changed the nib to a flex nib from a normal nib is I picked my pen out of my pencil case the other day, and the nib was bent completely backwards, and I do remember dropping it, or maybe I remember one of the kids dropping it, can't remember, but so the standard nib was completely cattle trucked, as we say in Yorkshire. So here I'm using this sort of like dot method, and sometimes I'll use that to vaguely lay something out on the page, like does it want to be here, does it want to be here, and I'm using those dots as kind of like reference datums, you know. And then what I'll do is I'll put all the dots down and I'll go, there's the shape of the ship there's the shape of the boat, and then I'll go, oh, actually it's in completely the wrong place. So what I'll do is I'll move all the dots and go somewhere else. And the reason why it's kind of nice to do it that way rather than using lines is because, you know, there's a lot less, you can cover the page in dots, and then as soon as you put a line down, it doesn't really matter that there's other dots there. So it's a nice way of working. So you can see I've vaguely planned out that drawing with dots, but I'm realizing that it's too low. It needs to be higher. So straight away I'm just going to sack off all those dots, and you'll see later on it doesn't matter. You don't see them in the image, you don't see them in the final image, and if you do, so what. So I'm going to start again. I'm going to move the boat up and put the reference there. In fact, in retrospect, I could have gone higher, I think, but there you go. Because the boat isn't just the boat, it's all the props that are holding the boat up. But we'll see that towards the end. So I'm going to put in some more dots there, and those dots are going to help me, and then I'm going to start sketching. So seeing as this isn't a video necessarily about sketching, this is about copying other people's style. Let's talk a little bit about that while this is happening. So what are the disadvantages of copying people's style? Well, you could say that it's not very creative, because you're just basically replicating the work that somebody else has done. I guess if you're being really snooty about it, you could say it was very derivative, and that sort of from a moral point of view, maybe you let other people do what they do and you don't copy that. But, you know, I'm not really sure that you can be that highbrow about it, to be honest. Is bad if you do it a lot. I think if you do it a lot and you copy one person's style a lot and you become entrenched sort of in that style, that could be a bad thing, because ultimately you're not exploring other ways and other means and other types of like mark making or creation. So yeah, there is negatives, and I'm sure you could think of other things, but I often think of it a little bit like learning a musical instrument. If you want to learn to play the guitar, for example, at some point you're going to have to replicate somebody's style. Now, whether it's because you're going to be learning, the guitar sound of AC/DC or B.B. King or Jimi Hendrix or whatever, and you'd start with simple stuff. I mean, I remember when I was at school, some of the first tunes we played were from the 60s when I was in bands, and it was like Johnny B. Good and like 12-bar blues and really simple stuff. And then you progress up to, well, for us it was Cream and Hendrix and Led Zeppelin, and you might end up playing, crazy Jack Up Stories, jazz, or, Rush, or really complicated jazz-based things. But as you progress, what you're doing is you're either playing sheet music, which is other people's music, or you're playing covers of bands, or you'll be doing your own stuff. Yeah, you'll be developing your own style. But often with music, we play other people's tunes, and we don't think anything of it. We don't see it as in any way sort of theft. But really, when it comes to art, I think we are a lot more protective over our styles. And I definitely see it with artists who have a very fixed style, and they seem to stick to that. And I often wonder sometimes how you can't trademark a style in a way. You know, certain types of work are associated with certain types of artists, but I've known artists, even an artist in the urban sketching world before, who asked another artist to stop doing skies like they did skies, and they said it was almost like a photocopy, and I think they were quite sniffy about that. But that makes no sense to me, because there's only so many ways you can do skies. And just because the sky was a little bit like this person's sky doesn't necessarily mean any of the rest of it was, because the person who this artist assumed of copying is a friend of mine, and his work is very unique. His line style is very unique, so people can be funny about this sort of stuff. So why did I choose to copy Ian Fennelly here and his style? Well, I think he does things slightly differently to a lot of other people. I think the way that he uses cross-hatching, the way that he draws the different stages, he uses Tombow markers, which I didn't do here, but I did some similar effects to that. He has quite a unique way of working, and I would recommend you check out his stuff. I'll put a link somewhere in the description below. He's got a YouTube channel, I believe, and he does lessons and all that sort of stuff. Okay, so the reason why I chose to really replicate Ian Fennelly's style here, well, as much as you can in a quick sort of sketch, because obviously I'm perhaps flattering myself a bit that, I can do anything like he can do. Because the reason why I basically chose to do it is because he's got such a unique way of painting. And I quite like stepping away from the kind of traditional way of doing watercolour painting. I think watercolour as a medium is often unfairly criticised for being a bit wishy-washy, a bit safe, and generally something that, us old farts do. Gentle, soft, bucolic, slightly misty paintings of, mountains and trees. But actually, watercolour can be as punk and as mad and daft as any meter, really. In fact, I think it's got a luminosity about it, particularly when you use some really bright colours on very white paper, that is really quite electric. I think it can be really powerful and a really fun media. And I think Ian's work captures a lot of that, poppy vibe, and that's what really appeals to me. So really, this is my own drawing. It's my own sketch from my own reference picture, but what I've done is I've looked at some of his other drawings and seen the way he's handled colour and kind of guessed at how it could be applied. But yeah, so what are the benefits of copying other people's work? Well, first of all, trying different techniques and trying different processes is a really, really important part of learning. And then you have the idea that, it's a goal to head towards. So, you have a benchmark because you can see what somebody else has done and how they've created their art, and you can sort of copy it and then put yours against theirs. And yes, it might not look the same, but that's actually a good thing in a way, because we all have our own way of dancing and cooking, and, it doesn't have to look the same. But you can compare and contrast, and you can see, maybe that bit of the process didn't work as well, or maybe that bit of the process did. So copying other people is a great way of sort of benchmarking your work, really. But I think that leads us to one of the most important elements of why copying is so important, and that's because all learning is copying. As we grow as children, and the way we learn speech is by copying. The way that we develop our social skills is because our parents and our peers will model those around us, and that's how we develop. So there is very little learning without copying. And yes, it would be really beautiful to, pick up a fountain pen for the first time and a packet of watercolours and just find your style and straight away be like, pop, that's it, that's me, I'm done. It doesn't work like that. We know it doesn't work like that. You have to go through a million iterations. You have to climb that beautiful learning curve. And actually, weirdly, there's no game over screen. You never complete art. I've said this many times before. So what happens is, as you create more art and as you get more confident with the media and you get more confident with your own abilities, your style keeps changing. So you never stop. You're always developing. You're always trying new things, hopefully. So, I'd like to think that I look at a picture and go, oh, that's very Ian Fennelly. But I'd also like to think, behind the scenes somewhere, he's messing around with charcoal, or he's doing, trying different things, and not just saying, this is my style and I'm going to stick to it. Because at the end of the day, it's not going to be a very creative way of working if you've just, your style hasn't changed in like 30 years, or maybe it won't, and maybe he'll be very happy with that. So that's a very personal thing as well. But anyway, the point being that we copy because we want to learn. But if you copy somebody's style or somebody's way of working, it's because you admire them. And what you do is ultimately end up taking a few elements of that, and you carry it with you in your sort of toolbox of art. This is a concept that I think about a lot with, whether it's with photography or whether it's with art or whether it's with sort of life in general, is you develop as you get older a toolbox of techniques. Say with art, it's a good one. Let's say watercolour specifically. So what happens is when you start, you don't really know what you're doing, so you will maybe just practice a wash. No, actually, because you don't do that, do you? What you do is you download an easy tutorial, or you look at an easy tutorial on YouTube, such as like Peter Shealer or someone, and you'll try and do it, and it'll vaguely look right, but you don't quite know why it doesn't. And it's only really when you start making repeated mistakes and you start to go, well, why is this keep happening, that you will drill down and go, oh, it's because my watercolour paper's rubbish, or it's because my paints are rubbish, or it's because I'm not using enough water, or I'm using too much water. So basically your mistakes become your learning nodes. And every time you make one of those mistakes, that gets put in the toolbox. So oh yeah, the paint looks cakey, and that's because I'm using too much pigment and not enough water. So that's in the toolbox, and you can return to that, because if you want a dry brush cakey feel to your picture to create texture, you could go back and revisit that. Or one day you'll put down some watercolor with too much water on, and it'll drip down the page, and you'll go, oh god, that's terrible. But that goes into the toolbox as well, because you might want to come back and use that technique. And sometimes I've done some drawings where I've purposely dripped and purposely got a straw and like blown the paint around, and it looks fantastic. So every time you make a little mistake, it becomes like a learning node, and that can go in your toolkit, and you can pull it out and use it. Now that's how I feel very much about copying other artists' work. Like Ian's style is very specific, but there's elements to his colouring that I think, even just by doing one drawing that's a bit like his, I feel like I've learnt a lot from. Well, you can take a little bit of their style and you're going to carry that with you in your toolbox. And ultimately, as you progress and find your own language, that style, that little tool will get watered down, but it's always there. You can always go back and visit it. So I think it is important to have a look at other artists' work and to build some of the fundamentals yourself, so that you can at least understand what the other artists are doing, because that's key as well. I couldn't have looked at Ian's work maybe 10 years ago and known exactly how he gets the effects he does, whereas now I can look at it and quite easily sort of decode it. I guess again it's a little bit like being a musician, in the sense that you can listen to it and you know how that's being played. But no, it's all very interesting. So let's have a look at this finished piece then. So I think in conclusion with this piece, I think the colours are lovely, they're really striking, they're really bold. I think I've actually, it really pops off the page. It's really lovely. I've tried to do some of Ian's trademark sort of pebbles, and I've tried to incorporate actually a few more of my own colours in those pebbles to sort of have a bit of sympathy with the boat. Yeah, I think it was really nice. I was unsure a little bit about that grey stripe in the background, but actually I'm glad I put it in, because I think it makes the boat pop a little bit more off the page, having that grey behind it. And also it helps with those white posts. Helps make them pop a little bit too. But yeah, it's a really fun one. If we look on the far left hand side, we can get a close-up of the of that Moonglow paint, which is a Daniel Smith colour that I put on there. Moonglow's lovely. It's a mixture of some different pigments, but as it dries it separates out into its sort of constituent parts. So you get like a little grey bits and blue bits and purple bits, and it's really quite effective just as a standalone thing in its own right. Then we go back to the boat, and yeah, It's a nice mix. That flex nib fountain pen that I showed you as well is wonderful. You get such great line variation with it. It's very strong. That's really nice, that blob there, isn't it, with the turquoise and then the quinacridone gold. It's such a beautiful little colour shades. So I hope you enjoyed that, and I hope you enjoyed that little bit of random chat about copying other artists. And on my Patreon there'll be a longer version of this video where I talk a little bit more about the technique and the style involved in it. So yeah, you can head over to my Patreon and pay a little bit every month and get full access to all the back catalogue, ad-free videos, as well as longer versions of most of the ones that are here on YouTube. So yeah, thanks very much for stopping by. Like and subscribe and all that jazz. See you again. Bye bye.